Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Barbeno's World. In the last episode, I said I had some really big plans for some things coming up, and I can't promise I'll finish it in this episode, but yeah, I want to start building a mob switch. And basically what a mob switch is a device that lets you switch to like a pseudo peaceful mode in normal survival. And that just prevents all of the hostile mobs from spawning naturally in your world. It does this by just filling up the mob cap with a bunch of mobs that can't despawn but are still counted as hostile mobs. And there's just a few mobs that can do this. One of them is withers, shulkers, and newly in this update, zombie villagers that you've traded with. And yeah, that last one, the zombie villagers, is definitely one that seems pretty interesting because it's going to make making mob switches a lot easier in this new update. But there's not a lot of information out there about building mob switches. I'm pretty sure it won't be too hard, at least compared to how it used to be. But I think I'm going to have to do some tinkering in creative before I'm ready to start building it. Here I am in a brand new creative world that I made just for mob switch testing. And yeah, there's two things that are important when you're making a mob switch. First one is you need to collect 70 of those hostile mobs that don't despawn. And yeah, the second important thing is the area that they're all in needs to be chunk loaded. So one way to chunk load a contraption would be to put it in the spawn chunks. Which are an area of a bunch of chunks around spawn that are constantly loaded automatically. And yeah, here's an overlay of them using the mini HUD mod. I don't want to put these zombie villagers in the spawn chunks because that means that I couldn't use my mob farm that is right near the spawn chunks. Since we're not using the spawn chunks, I've teleported myself out about 2,000 blocks just to make sure I don't have any interference from that. And from here, I'm going to teleport myself up about 250 blocks just to make sure that all of the mobs are all gone. So now that we're up here, let's check how many mobs are in the mob cap. And just as I expected, yeah, here's the mob cap right here. And there are 0 mobs in the mob cap. Now back down here, I have built up a small structure and let's spawn a villager in here. And now let's lock in his trades by buying some redstone from him, and let's spawn a zombie in here to get him killed. Alright, now that he's been converted into a zombie villager, and we have a zombie villager in our mob cap, let's go do the same test. I'm back up way at the top of the world. And let's go check what's going on down at the bottom. We're in free cam, and as you can see, the zombie that I put in there with him has despawned, but this guy hasn't. So now if we check the mob caps, we should be able to see that there's 1 mob in the mob cap. So now all that we have to do is put 70 zombie villagers in there, and that will completely fill up the mob cap. So yeah, that part with the zombie villagers is the first part of the mob switch done. So basically all I'd have to do is get 70 of them in here, which shouldn't be too hard if I make like a nice setup with a breeder and a trading area, and then a zombie just gets put in here at the end. And as I mentioned, the second part of it is the chunk loader, and I've already built up a chunk loader here. This is designed by Ilmango. It's a little bit more complicated than it needs to be, but it's extremely reliable, which is good. So basically what it does is it cycles a minecart from the overworld to the nether, which keeps both of the sides loaded as long as an entity has traveled through a nether portal in the past few seconds. So yeah, it just sends the minecart through every few seconds, it breaks on the cactus, and then it gets shot back into the nether again. I can show you what it looks like on the other side. It's basically the same, but instead of automatically activating it immediately, there's a timer that waits a few seconds to send the minecart out just to minimize lag. Anyways, now that we've done this, let's check to see that the mob switch is working in all parts of the world. So let's teleport like all the way out to 80,000 blocks out, and let's see if it's still working. So here we are, 80,000 blocks out in the world, and let's check our mob cap. And yeah, it seems to be working perfectly. There's one mob in the mob cap, even though there's nothing around here that should be spawning because we're so high off the ground. Now that we know all of this actually works, we can go ahead and find a place to build it in our survival world. Right, here we are in Amidst, which is a very nice Minecraft mapping tool, and we're looking at the seed of Barbeno's world. So we need to go out really far to build this contraption because, yeah, as I said, no mob farms around this are going to work because it's going to be populating the entire mob cap. So let's zoom out and go really far away. Right, I found just the perfect spot. And when I say this is really far away from spawn, I mean it. It's literally at almost 16,000 on the x-axis and 12,000 on the y-axis. And yeah, I'm thinking of building it right at this village right here because once again, we're going to need to build a villager breeder for this. I know I said I was getting pretty bored of dealing with villagers, but I think this project is going to be totally worth dealing with a bunch of villagers because a mob switch is going to be really convenient to have. So starting from spawn, which is right here, I need to go out a few thousand blocks in this direction in the nether. And on my way, I'm going to put a bunch of these markers using bone blocks and end rods just like this, which point the way back to spawn, which will be like this direction. So yeah, let's go do this a few more times until I make it out to the coordinates that I need to be at. This pathway of markers looks pretty drunken, but hopefully it should work to get us there and back. And yeah, it stretches out for quite a while, and they're spaced out about 2 or 3 per like render distance. Let's light up this portal and make sure we've got the right place. We popped up underground, so let's just break this portal and go up to the surface. There's also a nice location of a zombie spawner if I want it. And we came out right here by this village. That's super nice. I also like the snow. I'm pretty sure this is like the first time I've seen snow in this world because, yeah, I don't really get out much. But it looks really cool with my resource pack. The first thing I need to do is go ahead and trap as many villagers as I can in their houses because I don't want them getting killed because I need to make a breeder for them. Now that it stopped snowing and I've trapped a bunch of the villagers, I think it's a good idea now to flatten out a really big area here so that I have enough room to like think clearly and start building the next thing. I've built up this nice platform here. I put a bunch of torches down so that no mobs spawn and so that the snow will melt. And I think the first thing I want to do here is to probably build up the chunk loading grid, or I mean the chunk loader. So it'll be right behind this portal. So I went ahead and installed the chunk loader here, and it's working perfectly as far as I can tell. It did take me a few tries because I had botched the orientation of the portal, so I had to rotate it a bit. And yeah, now it's working fine, and as you can see, the minecart is occasionally coming through the portal and breaking on the cactus, getting sent back. Okay, I've actually added even more to this flat area, and I think now it's time to build the villager breeders. And I'm going to build them out here because these chunks should not be loaded by the chunk loader. As you can see, they are quite a few chunks away from the chunk loading system. So yeah, let's do a time lapse of me building up this villager breeder. And I'm actually going to be using a new design, which is by someone else called Logical Geek Boy. And it seems to be a bit more reliable than the one that I've built at my villager area. So I got a little bit carried away and I built 3 of the villager breeders, but this is going to be really good because it'll produce villagers about 3 times as fast. And all I have to do now is get the villagers in, which is always a pain, but we only need 2 per breeding cell. So I want to do a pathfinding test to see if my idea for getting villagers up will work. So I've got a bed up here at the top of a ladder, and let's put a villager down here. And if we set the time to night, let's see what happens. Alright, he should be wanting to find his bed soon. Yeah, so it looks like the villager isn't interested in coming up here to his bed, so I'll have to find a different way of getting them up. So I've built up this rail that goes all the way up into the first villager breeder over there, and I've trapped the first villager, and I'm ready to send him off. Now hopefully he doesn't escape from here. I'll block him in a little bit more. Okay, let's try it. Perfect. Now send him off. Send him off. Nice. He's gone in. Now let's just grab the other one. Now let's do it with this guy. And minecart. Dang, alright, that was a fail. This better work. Keeps moving off the tracks. Alright. Nice. Perfect. Let's break these minecarts and hopefully they'll start working. Good stuff. Since both of them weren't taking the composters in the middle, I moved one of them over to here. So now they can both work at their own composter. And I just need to plant some potatoes and they should start breeding. Welcome back, everybody. It's been a few days, but yes, I've finally gotten all of the villagers in. And I can tell you this villager breeder is super fast. I would say it's about 5 times the speed of the one at my villager area, which is really good. And I'm pretty sure that it can produce a theoretical maximum of 18 villagers per hour. But even at that rate, I'm going to need to AFK at this overnight if I want to get enough to build the mob switch. But anyways, as I wait for these villagers to breed up a little bit, let's do a quick montage of me destroying the village behind me using some TNT. Alright, that's looking a lot better. There's no more houses to be seen. I honestly don't think it looks that much better, but at least my stress is relieved from dealing with all of those villagers. Oh my god, they keep escaping from my breeder. Why? Hopefully replacing some of this glass with stone bricks should fix the problem. But now it's time to go over to creative to do some tests for the mob switch again. During my preliminary testing, I was just putting all the zombie villagers in here, which was fine for just testing. But for the actual thing, I'm going to not want them to be in a room like this, because if they are, 70 of them in a room are going to be causing a lot of collisions. And I think that's going to cause a lot of lag. I'm not an expert, but I think that's what would happen. Yeah, for the actual mob switch, I think I'm going to put them all in a 1x1. And I'll put some vines on the walls because that actually prevents entity cramming. Now let's summon a bunch of zombie villagers in there just to make sure it works. That ought to be enough, and as you can see, they're not only not cramming together, but they're also not causing collisions at all, which means that they won't cause very much lag. Now let's find a way to get the zombie villagers actually into this compartment. I spent a bit building up this nice contraption, and let's test out to see if it works. Alright, so if you press that button, it takes a villager from our breeder, which will be up there, and it puts him down here. We can lock in his trades just like this by trading with him, and send him off. And he gets ejected onto this block. I'm not sure if this will be okay because he just ends up right here, but I do actually need him to wander down into the vine area, which they always do eventually, but I don't know if it's fast enough. I have an idea for how to zombify them now. Let's spawn a husk in here, or a zombie would work as well. And now let's just shoot him out like I did with the villagers. Now, hopefully, he'll walk down into the chamber. There we go. Yeah, now he's just converting them, and it's just a train reaction. And soon enough, all of them are zombie villagers. That's actually quite the genius strategy. And then if we just run away, then the husk will despawn, but the zombie villagers will stay. So that's basically the plan. Now let's build this up in survival. Alright, that was a pretty quick build, and it's basically the same as I had in creative. And the only thing different is basically the shape of it, and yeah, that's quite similar, except that everything's in a different place. Now, I'm going to want to get 90 or 70 items, so let's put them all into this dropper. And basically what these 70 items are going to do is they're going to count how many mobs we've put through the system, so I don't have to do it myself. I literally haven't tested this yet at all, so I'm going to give it the first test now with one of the villagers. And we should just press this top button to grab one of the villagers out of the breeder. Nice. So let's just buy some redstone to lock in his trades and send him off. Now hopefully we'll see him getting ejected properly into there. And it worked. I'm really hoping this is 100% reliable because it needs to be. And also he really should be walking down there as soon as possible. This guy finally went in, but it was kind of slow, so I want to figure out something that will make it faster for next time. Anyways, I'm just going to keep doing this until another one gets stuck. Alright, this next guy went in as well, but I'm just going to go ahead and try out my fix. So basically the idea is we take a piston with an observer facing into it, an observer facing into that observer, and hopefully that pushes them all in. Dude, I'm a genius. I'm an actual legend. I also never showed you how this counter works. Basically, whenever I press this button, it puts a iron ingot into the chest. And once I get up to 70, that's the maximum amount that I need. And then I'll be done. So basically, I just want to do a time lapse now since my system works so well. I'm going to get as many villagers in before I'm bored. Yeah, alright, my system is kind of a botch. This guy just escaped, so I'm gonna have to fix that. I'm just gonna plop down a bunch of blocks up here, and I'm hoping that'll fix the problem. But if it doesn't, I'll be pretty sad. That did not take long, and I'm completely out of adult villagers. And yeah, let's check how many we got in. Yeah, we only had 27 in there, even though it looked like it was quite full. Only 27, not even half the amount that we need. And yeah, that's going to take quite a while to get all of them in. But let's go just check up on how all of them are. They're all in this one block, and yeah, if the vines weren't working, they should be entity cramming by now, but they're not, which is great. Also, I hope that they're all clerics, and I really need to make sure I don't miscount. Anyways, this is clearly a really big project, and I don't think I can get it done this episode. But now that we have all of the infrastructure in place, it should be pretty easy to finish off. So, yeah, I think that's going to be it for today. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.